He's a very fun villain, and that is how we should do strong female characters. And he is, and they accomplish it, and I don't like him. That was an unnecessary explanation, and I am sorry. Welcome back to another Nerd Rants video. Today we're going to be talking about a show that I just binge watched all 3 seasons of. It's only 10 episode seasons. It's only like 30 episodes, so it's not that impressive. But I really like this show. It's kind of great. It's called The Musketeers. If you know, you know. And I've been ranting about having good same-gender platonic relationships for, honestly, the last couple Nerd Rants videos. It keeps coming up. And it's coming up again. Because the relationships, like the platonic friend relationships in this series, are so great and so wonderful, and I love it. I love it so much. We have the 4 main characters, Athos, Porthos, Aramis, and D'Artagnan. They're all just best friends and like found family brother relationships, and it's wonderful, and I love it, and I love them. And it makes me so happy. It makes me so happy. Another thing that makes me really happy is there's just literally no gay stuff in there. Someone managed to make a show that was really good, and it was awesome, and there's no gay stuff. Remember my t-shirt quote from Barbie video? It doesn't have to be gay. It just has to be good. It's true. It's true. So, obviously, the show is about France and I don't know which Louis. One of the King Louis's reigns. I don't remember which one. I don't remember if they actually say which one he is. King Louis in France, and it's during one of their reigns, and it's about his musketeers, specifically the 4 main ones that I mentioned. So yeah, it's just the king's musketeers, and they're going on missions, and they're trying to protect the king and protect France and protect each other and building their bond, and it's just wonderful. And then you have the overarching villain or whatever who's trying to undermine the king or stage a coup or overthrow or whatever is happening. In the first one, it's kind of the cardinal. It's kind of the cardinal. He's not really like villain per se. He's doing everything that he does for the king and to protect France, but the things he's doing aren't great. They're really not. They're bad things, and he has a woman that is essentially indentured to him, is indebted or whatever, and so she serves him, and she's just straight up an assassin. And Athos' wife. So fun, drama, and complications. So yeah. But fun times. First season, it's Cardinal. Second season, excuse me, it's one of the Cardinal's men who was a spy in Spain, who, during his 5 years of imprisonment, gets turned into a Spanish spy, and is now a Spanish spy, comes back to France, and then they, have to figure out, no, he's actually a spy, trying to overthrow the king, because he has a gross obsession with the queen. Ugh. And then I think the third season's villain is probably my favorite, Lucien Grimaud. He's very cool. He's cool. He's kind of a wandering renegade assassin dude, and he has gotten rich on collecting debts from all these people he's made deals with. And so then now he has all this money, and so because of that, he has people making more deals with him, and he's using all these illegal, questionable methods to help different nobles get what they want. And he's very cool. He's a very fun villain. But yeah, they have good villains. The characters are good. I love the relationships. The romance is at a minimum. There is minimal romance in it, and that is also a plus. We have Aramis as a character is just a little bit of a womanizer, and so there's that thrown in there, but nothing like, no extreme overacting romance stories for him, really. I mean, there's the drama that comes with him being the guy he is. But the only real romance that we have happening is D'Artagnan and Constance Bonacieux. I think that's the name. Anyway, married woman. A married woman. So yeah, fun times. There's not a lot of drama, but it is, a lot of romance, but it is dramatic when there is romance because she's a married woman and it's an affair, and only the women get really punished for having an affair, and that era of French history. I mean, I don't know if that's still the way it is, but yeah, fun times. But Constance is a great character. I do like Constance. Because she's not, she wants to fight and she wants to know how to fight, and she eventually ends up being head of the garrison during a war that happens that starts in end of season 2, beginning of season 3. But she's not your typical tough girl character where her sole purpose is, I'm gonna be better at this than the guys and beat the crap out of people. She's really not. She doesn't actually use her fighting skills that she learns all that much unless she's in a situation where she has to. But she's still she can fight, but she's still a very feminine character, and that is how we do strong female characters. Let's find the strength in their femininity, not make them more like the guys. So yeah, solid, strong female character. Also, the queen is a good, strong female character because she is a Spanish queen in the French court. And, excuse me. And so she has, especially as things between France and Spain continue to disintegrate throughout the seasons, because it starts with, they have this truce because Louis married the Spanish princess, and so now she's queen of France, and that's their treaty. But things continue to disintegrate throughout the seasons, just through all of it's a very flimsy treaty, obviously, Spanish spies going in and out of the country and all the fun things. And so as things start to disintegrate and the people start to turn against her because she is a Spanish-born queen, it's fun to see how she handles things and how, even though she is not a fighter, the strength of her character. In all of her feminine glory, just the strength of who she is as a person and her compassion for the French people, despite their continuing and growing malice towards her, especially in the final season. So yeah, good characters, good strong female characters, lovely, great, amazing platonic relationships between the 4 main Musketeers. I love it. Yeah, the villains are all pretty good. Rochefort, who is the Spanish spy dude villain in season 2, he's a little disgusting. He's a little gross and just a bit creepy, which is definitely the point of his character. He's supposed to be kind of this just gross, creepy, disgusting dude, and he is, and they accomplish it. And I don't like him. I mean, it's what his character is, but I don't like it. It's just uncomfortable. Ugh. Literally has a prostitute dress up as the queen and role play with him as it's just gross. It's really, really gross. They did his character very, very well, though. It's just his character is a gross human being. Yeah. Anyway. Quick run through of everything. First episode, D'Artagnan and his father are traveling, I think, to Paris. For whatever reasons, their farmers are trying to sell something or talk about some issue. Anyway, they're on their way to Paris. They get attacked by robbers, thieves, mercenaries, whatever they are, posing as musketeers. His father is killed, and so he goes to Paris looking for the musketeer Athos, who the leader of these bandits or whatever claim to be, and confronts him about that, figures out, no, these are posers, we didn't do this, musketeers wouldn't do this, and then helps them hunt down those guys, get them arrested, kill some of them, obviously, because they're in a fight and all the fun stuff. And then because of that, he kind of gets roped into becoming like a musketeer cadet, and then the first season is him training up, eventually getting his commission, and then figuring out how to take down the cardinal when he finally does something that he believed the king wanted, but realized, like, in a fit of drunken anger or whatever, the king says something like, I wish the queen was dead, then I could marry this other woman who is more like me, and just kind of drunkenly says, whatever, the queen should die, blah blah blah. And so the cardinal goes, okay, so if the queen is gone and you marry this woman who you drunkenly made fairly good reasons to marry, then you can do that. Maybe it'll make France stronger. And so sends through his assassin lady, Athos's wife, who goes by Milady de Winter through most of it, sends Milady de Winter, so via proxy of Milady de Winter, hires assassins to kill the queen. That this other guy gets the blame for it, so the cardinal's like, I'm safe, he's not gonna figure out it's me. But the musketeers kind of figure it out, and so by the end, they figure it out. The queen now knows, and she's like, I'm not gonna reveal it to the king, because I'm not gonna destroy his trust in you, and France still needs you, you're still loyal, you just made a mistake taking him seriously in a moment of drunken anger. But if you do anything else to betray the crown, I will take you down. And that's how they end season 1. But then Peter Capaldi, who's the actor for the Cardinal, ends up getting his Doctor Who role. And so they have to kill him off in the, 6 months? I think it's a 6-month gap between season 1 and season 2. I know this because first episode of season 2, the Queen gives birth. They tell us there's a, in the last episode of the second season, they announce she's pregnant. They also reveal, to the audience at least, that the child is not the king's. The child is Aramis's, the, womanizer musketeer, who, while they're protecting the queen, they're both lonely and in danger and that they might die, and so they just sort of spent a night together. And from that, she got pregnant. That was 3 months, is that episode, and then there's a 3-month gap which they tell us, and then that last episode, and then she gives birth in the first episode of the second season. So 6-month gap. In those 6 months, the cardinal dies. That was an unnecessary explanation, and I am sorry. So anyway, the second season, we have them go find Rochefort, and through a whole slew of events, he ends up back in Paris and head of the Red Guard. The Red Guard is like the King's Guard was under the Cardinal, and so whoever the first minister is, they lead the, well, not necessarily the first minister. But anyway, he becomes head of the Red Guard, who were under the Cardinal originally. The Red Guard and the Musketeers don't like each other, so they're constantly going at it. Anyway, Rochefort becomes head of the Red Guard, and so then has power, and he starts like eating away at the king's trust in other people, and twisting events and twisting the words of other people so that it gets to the point where the king only trusts him. And because of that, it's like, I will then eventually be able to kill him. And maybe that will, through whatever maniacal plans I've made, will allow me to take the throne. And I mean, his eventual goal is not only to take the throne, but also to, like, marry the queen, because gross obsession! Like, bleh. It's uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfy bit of the plot. It's really gross. It's even a moment where he acts on that obsession, and that's... ugh. He loses an eye for it. Thankfully, the queen takes an eye with her when she gets away from him. It's like, yes! He deserves more than losing an eye. Yeah, he was a very hateful character. Like, that cardinal, you kind of understood he was doing, like, you hated the things he did, but he was doing it for France, and so there was a sense of duty in it, and you kind of could understand where he was coming from. And then Grimaud was just too cool to hate. And, like, you knew he had his reasons, and then, like, there's a whole, you get his backstory, and he had a crap life, and, like, his mother tried to drown him when he was a baby for things, and so he's just an awful dude because he's been through so much crap, and so he's just bad, and you understand why he's bad, but he's still just bad, and he doesn't necessarily need a reason to he's kind of just taking out all his anger on this and for personal gain, and taking out nobles and all of the fun stuff. He's doing it for, like, wealth and for his own personal gain and his own personal vendettas. And it gets revealed more and more throughout the season. But Rochefort is just gross. It's just like, I want to be all powerful, and I want to have the queen because I think I'm in love with her, and I believe she's in love with me, when really she's not. So he's a very delusional and hateable character. Let me just combine those words. Blech. Speaking is hard, guys. So yeah, Rochefort sucks as a human being and is just gross. But the whole plot of them figuring out, like, him eating away at the king's trust and everyone else, is a very interesting plot. Like, if we took away his obsession with the queen, he'd probably be a less hateable character, and less gross, and less uncomfy. But, so everything aside from that little plot point is very interesting to watch him start working his way up the ladder and pushing aside and breaking down the king's trust in everyone else, including his wife. And getting to the point where he's been there long enough that he kind of just breaks and loses control, goes after the queen and eventually, because of his ambition and his, search for power and trying to get everything he wants, he ends up dooming himself, because it gets to the point where the Spanish are like, okay, he's getting a little dangerous, and he is doing things that we did not expect him to do, that we can't control him anymore, and so they help them take him down. And that's very fun to watch him kind of mentally break and get to the point where he can't control himself anymore, and so he kind of just snaps and starts making more reckless decisions, which is fun. But season 3, this one, we get a 4-year time skip because war. Okay, so during season 2, we also get a whole thing with Aramis and Queen, and the Queen's affair kind of comes to light because of Rochefort. He figures it out because the Cardinal knew, but then he died before he told anyone. And Rochefort, through a series of events and whatever, and looking in the Cardinal's papers, figures out that they had an affair, and that the Dauphin, Prince, whatever they want to call him, is actually their son, not the king's. And so he tries, in the end, during this and trying to discredit it and trying to get the Musketeers out of the way, he reveals this. And then when he's revealed as a Spanish spy and like everything he says is a lie, they kind of brush it under the rug as him saying that Aramis and Queen Anne had an affair was a lie, and this trying to discredit Aramis and all that. And so they brush it under the rug like that. And so the king then again believes, okay, it was a lie. Of course this is my son. He's my son. My queen is loyal. But Aramis, knowing the truth, goes, yeah, no, I can't do this. And was arrested during the whole Rochefort thing and made a vow to God, like, if I make it out of this, if we all make it out of this alive, the queen, me, and our son, I will give up, I will resign my commission and become a monk. And so that's what he does at the end of the second season. And so then the third season, the other 3 are fighting a war. They've been fighting a war for 3 years. And then they stumble across, through all of the bad things that happen because of war, they stumble across the monastery where Aramis is at and where he's taking care of children, which soft Aramis is the best. He would make a wonderful father. He's just great. And so good with kids. Oh man, he might be my favorite of the 4. When they were talking about him leaving for a monastery, I was like, no, you can't take my Aramis. He's too much of a sweet bean. They're all great, but I love Aramis. But yes, so I stumble across him, and because of all of this, he goes, okay, no, I am not meant to be a monk. I'm a fighter. And rejoins the Musketeers, and they go back to Paris, and meanwhile Paris is in upheaval because the king is focusing very much on his son. He's very much single-track mind, my son. I need to spend as much time with my son as possible. Which you figure out later is because he's dying, so it makes perfect sense. But throughout the first half of the season, we have him acting all weird, and you're like, this is a little strange. Was paranoid for a while because in season 2, because Rochefort was making him paranoid. And it's like, but we figured that out. No way is he still being all paranoid and whatever else. But then we figure out, oh, no, it's because he's dying. That explains a lot. And so we have that whole dynamic happening, and with how he is, behaving, and we also find out later, no, he does know about Aramis and the Queen's affair, and knows that the Dauphin isn't his son by blood. And so that's all going on in the background, even though we don't necessarily know about it yet. And so we have all of this behavior happening, and it's strange, and he's pushing the queen away and all of this, and being very like, this is my son, I'm spending as much time with my son as I can, and making a big deal about his birthday that's coming up, and all of this all these interesting things. And you're like, why is he making these choices? And then as you learn about these things, like, oh no, he's dying, and then later on, no, he knows about the affair, and it starts to explain his behavior, and it's very fun. It's very fun. His behavior through season 3 is done very well. And then, gosh, we have Constance running the garrison. It's great. We have Captain Treville, or he was captain in season 1, and then in season 2 he got disgraced and stripped of his title because of how Rochefort twisted the truth and whatever else. And then, by the end of season 2, he is promoted to Minister of War. And so we have him kind of being the sole voice of reason throughout this season, and kind of stepping into a little bit of the king's role as he backs off because, and pays more attention to his son. And so we have that. And then we have refugees from the war, which adds a whole nother aspect of it with Sylvie, who becomes, there's only ever like 1.5 romantic relationships happening. I say 1.5 because Aramis and the Queen never really dies. It just keeps going through the entire series. Anyway, so we have Sylvie and Athos kind of become a thing. They do become a thing. And so we have that. And then we also have the dynamic of Sylvie is kind of preaching treason just a little bit, or sedition just a little bit, because she wants things in France to get better. She's like, the war is kind of destroying us, and we have all of these problems happening in our country that the king's not doing anything about. And like, people are starving, and all of these poor people are kind of at just tough luck, figure your lives out. We're not going to give you any opportunities of any kind. And so we have her preaching that, and she's also dating a musketeer. Fun dynamic. And then we have Philippe, who becomes the next head of the Red Guard, and is the king's half-brother, and has like a degenerative bone disease or something. So that's fun. So he's just this feeble dude, and he's being manipulated. Words are hard. Manipulated. Gosh. Manipulated by Grimaud. He made a deal with Grimaud to kind of seize power from the king. In a way. Or whatever. And then we have him throughout the entire first half or most of the season, plotting this and trying to get Louis's other half-brother, Gaston, who's just a douche of a guy, trying to get him to have regency so that when Louis dies, because he overhears the secret that the king is dying, when Louis dies, Gaston will be in control, and then they can control Gaston, and so they'll have power. So we have this whole dynamic happening, and then it gets to the point where things are falling apart, and Grimaud, who's technically in charge of this and is just, using Philippe and any other noble that he is involved. He goes to Philippe and goes, nope, we gotta kill them all. The musketeers that keep getting in my way, and your brother. We can't wait anymore. He needs to die. And so he sends Philippe to kill his own brother, and then this is the anniversary of their father's death, and so Louis is at his father's grave, and Philippe comes up behind him, and he hears him coming and starts telling him all these things and how much that having Philippe around has meant to him, and then reveals that he has a grave next to their father set aside for Philippe. And Philippe goes, crap, what the heck am I doing? This is my brother. I can't betray him. And so he goes after Grimaud and gets killed. And it's like, oh, he gets a little redemption arc. And it's sad. He's also pretty good with the Dauphin. It's kind of sweet to see them interact. Yeah. And like the relationship dynamics in the show are pretty great. It's fun. The effects are good too. There's lots of explosions and gunfire and blood. So yeah, effects are good. The number of times people, like specifically the four main Musketeers, the number of times they get like blown up is kind of insane. How are they still alive? I don't know. Somehow they all make it through the series. Oh man, but yeah, it's a good show. Eventually Porthos gets a love, actually he gets several love interests. We have a love interest from his past that shows up in the first season, and oh, who else is there? There's another one who he is a widow that he befriends to get money for a contest so that he can prove the Musketeers are better than the Red Guard. And that doesn't work out either. And there's just several things. And then eventually he finds this lady from a village full of women who all their husbands went off to the war, and all their sons and whatever else all went off to the war, and so they left, and then all of these like PTSD-ridden soldiers coming back from the front lines start, abusing them because they're, half crazed from watching people slaughter each other all the time. So they run into the forest and build their own village to protect themselves and learn to protect themselves and all of that fun stuff. And so it's kind of just a village of well-armed, capable women. Another very fun and good representation of strong female characters. So it's all them, and he meets this girl, and she's pregnant, and her husband got killed. She doesn't know that yet, but her husband got killed in the war, and so he has to tell her that, and then the baby comes during the episode, obviously, and they have this connection because Porthos helps her deliver the baby, and then she comes back. She comes to Paris when their village gets found again later, and then they reconnect, and yay! And he gets promoted to general at the end because he's a good soldier. And so before he goes off to war, he goes, I want to be there for you. So marry me. Marry me before I leave so that in case anything happens to me, my pension will get paid to you. It's like, oh, he's such a weird way to propose, but like, he's so sweet. He's such a good guy. They're all great. Oh, yeah. I will say, for the last couple episodes, I kept going back and forth I was very split on whether I wanted D'Artagnan to die or not. Because he's a great character. I love the guy. He's awesome. But he also, of all of them, had the most to lose. Because he was, at that point, was the only one that was married. And we have a whole conversation. He and Porthos are pinned down from an ambush, because this is the episode where Grimaud is just like, screw it, we're going to kill everybody. And so they're pinned down in this building. And they're having a conversation about everything that they have to lose. And so we have D'Artagnan going like, I can't die here. I need to see Constance, my wife, one more time, and I can't die without seeing the children we'll have, and seeing them play, and teaching them to fight and hunt, and you have this, like, oh my gosh, he's talking about this future that he really wants to see, and it both makes me go, yes, he needs that. I want to see you have that. And also makes me go, you have the most to lose though, so if anyone dies, I kind of want it to be you. It's awful. It's awful, I know. It's my writer's brain. It is my writer's brain, because if these were my characters and I were going to kill off one of them, I would very highly consider doing the one that has the most to lose. Because that makes it so much sadder. So yeah, the last couple episodes, I'm like, I kept going back and forth. He's like, no, I want him to live, but it'd be really, really sad if he died. So if they were gonna kill someone, they should kill him. And I was just, that was my brain the entire last couple episodes. Especially when he got blown up. Like, he got blown up. He ran into a building, and then like 5 seconds later, it exploded. And I went, no way, did they actually? And I was also wondering if they'd killed Constance as well. Because she was in the garrison, it explodes, they run to help, and then he goes, crap, she's in there, in that burning building, breaks free of Porthos's grip, runs in there, and then it blows up. I'm like, did they just kill both of them? It's almost not as sad that way. Like, if they'd killed Constance and then they had stopped D'Artagnan from going in there, and then they found her body later, and then we got to see all of the grief in his face, that would have been heartbreaking. If just D'Artagnan had died, if D'Artagnan had run in there, died, and then they had found Constance among the survivors and had to tell her that he was dead, that would be super, super sad. But I was like, no way they killed them both. Like, even if D'Artagnan is dead, they're gonna find Constance. Because at first I was like, no, did they seriously kill Constance? They're not letting D'Artagnan go in there. It's like, did they kill Constance? And then he ran in there, and then he blew up. I'm like, no way. Did they kill D'Artagnan? So are they gonna find Constance in the wreckage? Is she gonna come stumbling out of some burning building asking where D'Artagnan is? And then, no, they didn't. They both survived, and I was just a little disappointed. I'm sorry, that sounds so awful. That sounds so awful. It's my writer's brain. I'm blaming it on my writer's brain. But yeah. Anyway, this show was really, really good. I really liked it. It was so fun. And the relationships were great, and the characters, for the most part, were all great. And the villains were good, and it was really, really good. I really liked it. There was no gay crap that was forced in there. Because, like, you guys can't deny, when they put gay stuff in something, a lot of times it just feels like they threw it in there because, like, oh crap, we need representation of this. And so they threw it in there, and it's not well written, and it's not well developed, and it's out of nowhere, and it makes no sense, and you're just like, why is this here? You're just making me not like this character, and in some cases slightly confused. Why is this in here? And this, they didn't feel any need to throw any of their representation in there, and so it was just a solid show. It was just a good, solid show. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very fun. I would watch it again, like 100% would watch it again. I love it. Especially friendship and the brotherhood between Athos, Aramis, Porthos, and D'Artagnan. It's wonderful. It's so great. I love it. And they're not just like, everything's good, blah, blah, we never get mad at each other. It's, the best part is, they do get mad at each other. But they find a way to, come to terms with it and figure out their anger and forgive each other. And it's just like, I love it. It's such a great dynamic and such great relationships. I love it so much. I love it so much. Yeah, highly recommend this show. It's very, very good. So good. Especially if you like historical fiction shows. Or just good solid adventure shows. Yeah. So, those are my thoughts on the Musketeers. Feel free to drop yours in the comments, along with any recommendations or requests that you might have. I post videos every Wednesday and Saturday, and I'll see you all next time.